so commercial galleries are kind of a different beast unto themselves, because a lot of times they're there to sell your work, and they need to sell, so they get their money and they can stick around. It's a great place for artists to get their works moving and try and get a little bit more exposure in that respect. So they're really great. However, you know, be aware if that's the kind of environment you want to be in. Collectives are great as well. They give you that chance to kind of become part of a community. Independent galleries are really great for that community feeling as well. If you really want to kind of get to know different people and feel like you're not just putting your piece on a wall or on a plinth and then that's it. You know, independent galleries are really awesome for that. You know, culturshoc especially has really stood itself out since it's been going as really being community oriented in that respect. And then you have, dare I even go there, then you have your public galleries, which is a completely different monster in itself. If you want to get picked up by a public gallery, a lot of times what that comes down to is the curators making the decisions. Typically the way that works is curators get hired based on their expertise and their previous exhibition history, and then they tend to have a roster of artists they'll bring in, always relating back to their mandate. They have to. And then if you want to actually have your works being picked up by these public galleries and collected, where you can get a nice bit of money for that, all that goes through selection committees. A lot of people aren't really aware of how like the public galleries work. It's not just one person saying, okay, we're going to collect this. A curator will do a bunch of research based on what they need to fill. A director, a curator, or even a collections manager will actually assess their collection on an annual basis and see what works fill their, you know, if they've completely filled their mandate, what works they need to collect next. Typically they will expand on their collection, but on the great chances that they actually do purchase new works or add new artists to their collection roster, that's when you really have to make sure, as an artist trying to get into these spaces, that you make yourself known. You play whatever connections you have, and then finally once it start meeting to collect, and that's when it goes to yet again another committee. Typically it's the acquisitions committee that'll be in charge of them. They'll be either a board or a volunteer basis, and they'll assess suggestions for acquisitions. You know, public galleries tend to be a little bit harder to get into, but you know, it's never be scared of looking into that. It can be really, really daunting, but you know, it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing to try. And then you also have you know, the possibility of looking to different places as well. I mean, a lot of artists don't really like the idea, but you know, there's a lot of legitimacy to getting your works into restaurants, coffee shops. You know, then you have a whole other venue open to you as well, getting yourself either picked up by, you know, try and get your work seen, see how it looks in a space, and then you have access to be able to get your work out to art consultants and designers. You know, there's a great little niche for being able to get your artworks into sets as well. You know, so through those contacts, I mean, if you do a lot of website looking, you can actually find these things. You know, and nowadays too, galleries and coffee shops and stores and that whole spectrum that has that niche for wanting art, everything's on the internet nowadays, so you can find a lot of call for submissions and a lot of really great venues to get your work in, because they want it. They're not just saying, okay, yeah, I guess send us your art. You know, they really want it, and you know, so if you're able to get yourself, you know, aware of what's out there, there's a lot of great venues to do that. You know, and beyond that, it really just is being diligent and promoting yourself the best that you can. You know, as an artist, you're doing something very unique. You know, you love what you do, and you know, and that kind of commitment will see you through the process. Yeah, so I think that's kind of it. I guess, are there any questions, Chris?
Would you advise people, if they had a choice, to submit on CD or with slides?
CDs are typically it. You know, I think the days of slides have kind of ended. A lot of places don't have slide boards anymore or have gotten rid of their carousels. Slides really now only occupy either, you know, the kind of collections management field, or, you know, archives, or even, you know, academic institutions. Even most of them nowadays are all going digital. So it's a lot easier to do a CD, costs you like 25 cents, and then, you know, and then that's it, that's all. And it's really good to have everything digital as well, because when you get the chance to start promoting your work, you know, digital is really the way to go, through either your website or your blog or your Facebook. You know, if you have all those ready for you, then you can send them out at any time, and it doesn't have to become a really hard process.
Thank you.
Anything else? So, I don't know, I always like to tell really funny anecdotes. And I actually had one time a young artist who was in their like third year of school come in and was pretty much asking me those questions, like, you know, how do I get into a gallery? What do I have to do? So I kind of gave him a bit of the same spiel. And he's like, well, but what if they don't want me? I'm like, well, they may not want you now, they might want you later, you know, just keep working and doing it. And it was really interesting, because he came so prepared. He had this huge portfolio, and he opened it up on the desk, and he's like, well, look at it, and you have to look at it. I'm like, okay, you know, and I always find that to be really funny, because it just, to me, it strikes me as like great enthusiasm, but, you know, maybe in the wrong places, because in a lot of ways, you know, they may be showing it to the wrong person. I myself, you know, I facilitate a lot of the application process for artists, but I don't really review them on purpose, because, you know, I don't want to have to be putting my opinion in a place where it really doesn't belong at that point. So
I notice a lot of places have please do not show up with your portfolio.
yes, for sure. And really be aware of that too, because, you know, there are some gallery attendants, administrators, whatever, that actually, I've seen it, take down names. When I was at the Ottawa Art Gallery, I actually saw that. I saw someone taking down the name of someone who was coming in for something, and I don't know where the name went, or if it was just keeping it in mind. But, you know, be careful, because it's a small world, and your hiccups can really get out there.
Any more questions, comments for Simone at this time?
Any good art gallery jokes?
What is the worst submission you've ever seen?
Check out my blog, ! Emoticon, and then the link. It was quite something. I was like, okay. I didn't know whether to take it seriously or not. You know, I've seen a lot of email submissions which are exactly that, you know, please take a look at my blog and let me know. And I'm like, well, that's great, but what are you submitting for? You know, some details, you know, who are you? You know, that would be nice to know.
So should you only be submitting when there's a call for submission?
Not always. Calls for submissions are really great, because at least you know that they're looking, right? But, you know, if you contact and find out, like, are you going to have a call for submissions? Can I submit for, you know, so you have a bunch of different choices a lot of places. You can either just submit in general. It's really good to submit for something specific. Like, if you have a series that you want to exhibit somewhere, submit that. Be like, I have a fully formed exhibit and a concept that I want to show, and here's what it is. Because little bits and pieces, you know, it's going to get lost somewhere in the whole process. Because if it's just one random work, unless it's specifically for a group show, a curator, director may not remember that one submission. So it's really good to have like a fully formed idea, and then at least they say, okay, there's a real strong concept here, and then take it from there. Because that's really what they want to see. They want to see like a well-formed idea and what you're trying to get out there, rather than just trying to get there, you know? So it's a really good opportunity to do that.
Simone, would you encourage young artists who can't find a gallery or any place to just basically do their own show?
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
An empty space and
it's amazing the amount of things you can do if you just like find other venues, you know. There's always all kinds of things going on. If you can get like a local cafe or a restaurant or a bar, or even some kind of non-gallery venue to like provide you a space for a night, you know, really go big.